Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is the Baneblade. It's a variant that I've invented myself with more guns, bigger guns, extra sponsons, and yeah. This is part 5? I want to say 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. Hopefully the final episode in this series, which is basically the painting. Now, I stupidly suggested that I was going to do it, well, obviously in orange because it's a Warhammer thing, and that's my thing with the Warhammer builds. But I stupidly suggested digital camo as the theme. So I've never done digital camo before, so obviously it seems like the ideal thing to start with. Such a, you know, small, easy kit with lots of big open areas and no difficult details or anything to worry about. So yeah, right. A few things to make note of to begin with. I have noticed since I've assembled it that there are still a few sort of seam lines and things. Most of the major ones I've got rid of in the build, but there's a couple of little bits like on these guns that just need a little bit of tidying up. So there's a little bit of that to do first. Mostly I shall just be using, say, little files or the seam removing tool, just as the light catches it in different angles. You can see some of these more obvious seams in there that I've neglected in the build. So I'm just going to do a little bit of tidy up first, just to get rid of, I say, all the bits that I can see. Then I shall be priming it. Now, as I'm going to be painting it mainly in orange, priming is going to be done in white because it lets the orange pop much nicer than doing it in any other colour, grey or black. I have left much of this not glued together. All of the sponsons are separate. The turret comes off like that. And also this top section comes off of there, so it's several parts that will be done sort of separately. Obviously the main body is one part, which, yeah, we'll worry about that. What I'm going to do, so after tidying it up, is use some of the spare pieces that I've got kicking around to have a quick test and play around and see how it works. So I'm going to go off camera and do the little bit of tidying up, and then we'll see what it looks like once I've got some primer on it and I've got some test pieces ready to go. So we'll see in a moment. Right, that's some primer down on a couple of test pieces. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or how it's going to work, but the theory is I've got 3 colours for digital camo. Now the main body of the kit is going to be in orange because, you know, why not? I think Troll Slayer Orange is going to be the better choice for this. It's a bit brighter than the or you know, a bit more orange, a bit darker. So the other 2 colours I'm going to be using are what is it, Full Brim Pink and Evil Sun Scarlet, just because I like the look of them. I think they'll go quite well as a matched set. So I think putting pink over red is going to be a bit of a trick. So I'm going to start with the pink. Now, as digital camo is basically squares. It's little squares of things that all sort of join up or don't join up and just, yeah, make it look good. Now, so good friend Scott has sent me, or loaned me, his digital camo cutting guide. So we've got some very reflective, sorry about the camera, and some sort of plate that has got grids on it. So, as far as I can tell, what you do is basically use this either side, or just to get the shapes. They're not random, but they're sort of random, if you know what I mean. So I shall first of all put down some paint. That's the first thing. So I'm going to put down some pink in some patches. This is going to be the sort of not lots of areas, so just going to not even use a wet palette. I'm just going to shake it up and yeah, I'll slap it on. All right,
slap it on.
So I'm just going to grab some on a brush. So going over the white, the pink's hopefully going to come out quite well. So as this is just an initial sort of test, I'm not worrying about anything really. It's going to look rough and rubbish, but that's not exactly the point, but I don't care. So what I'm doing is just covering up some areas, just 2 or 3. This is mainly to see how I can get the masking working over the shapes of things and the sides of things. to get a bit of experience, basically. So not all of this is going to stay, so I'm going bigger than I need to be. And what I should be able to do after the fact is basically mask over the bits I want to keep. So I'll do some clear patches anyway, because that will give me the best chance of it actually working. And hopefully this will work just as a one coat job. This bit should be easier because it's obviously flatter, but this will give me some practice with rivets and edges and holes and things. So I'm just going to do a bit there. I'll do a little bit over this side as well on the corner. So I'll leave them to dry, and then, or while they're drying, I shall basically cut out some masking template to go over the bits I want to keep. So I'll get that done and we'll see how it goes. I've got to put a new blade in my knife before I try and cut out any bits, so yeah. Right, I've cut one shape out, and basically, as far as I can tell, basically I've just got to stick it in place. So I'm going to start down at one side. This is like a transparent plastic, so you can sort of see when it goes down. But obviously it's going to be painted over the top of that, so I'm just going to push it into the grooves. Conveniently it sort of fits around bits that I've already got on there and almost fits that side. So I think that's the plan. I'm going to get a few more of these out and put them on, and we'll see how it looks afterwards. Well, I've got a few bits on there. I don't know if I've done enough. It doesn't feel like it's very much, because obviously you can see obviously the bits that I've done. They're going to be the only bits that are left pink, because everything else is going to get painted over. So it doesn't feel like I've done enough, but that's what the testing's all about. So what I'm going to do now is paint over all of it in orange. No, in red. Not all of it, but bits of it. Some of this is obviously going to be orange over the top of the pink. Some of it's going to be red. This is the bit that's getting a bit confusing in my mind, which is why I wanted to figure out what I'm doing now. I think the way to do it, and that's, say, what I'm testing. Obviously I can cover all of it and then put the orange over the top, which would do it, but I think that's going to need more masking than I need to do, and obviously I'd like to do as little work as possible, because that's, you know, that's what it's all about. So what I'm going to do is find my paintbrush again and get some red, and yeah, on the actual Baneblade I'm going to be doing airbrushing, but this, I say, as a test piece, I'm just going to do so I'm going to cover, for instance, that one and a big patch next to it. Everything obviously that I don't do in red is going to end up being orange, and anything that I do in red but don't put masking over is going to end up as orange as well. So I think I need to cover a fair amount, and then, I say, do some more masking over the top. So I'll have my bit in the middle I can leave. I can have another patch over here that's obviously going to have to be in red. I've covered that one as well. So there's big patches of red. If I've done a bit of one, I've got to do all of it, because otherwise it... No, because I can mask over the top of the masking anyway. So right, I'll leave that like that. I'll get the other one covered over again, partially, and then when that's dry, put more masking on. Don't take off that masking yet. That I think is the key point, because if you take this one off too soon, then it's obviously going to just look wrong. because you're going to end up painting over it, and then I've wasted all the time masking all of this. Now putting the masking on wasn't too bad. There's a couple of bits that where it's very lumpy, didn't come out as well as I'd hoped, but you know, it's not terrible. Now, from looking at reference pictures of digital camo, you can have it however you like. Some are big patches, some are patches that are joined up, some are patches that are nowhere near any other patches. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be any rules. I'm mainly, as I say, doing this to test to see that I can still see the masking underneath, because obviously you've got to take it all off. So I'll leave a patch in the middle there. I don't need to worry about painting. Let's put another bit over here. This bit up here was very tricky to try and mask around, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Get some, say, halfway down there. I'll do the big bit of this, I think. And get some more masking on there, and perhaps on that side as well. Just very rough painting, not worrying about anything really. Actually, I'll paint the entire inside of that, because why not? I say it's all about testing, not about any design choices on anything there. Let's get a bit down there. So I think that will do, because most of it is going to be orange. That's the plan, is to have most of the coverage in orange, which is the easiest one to do because it's just painting everywhere and not, you know, don't have to mask anything off on the orange. So that's that. I'll leave that to dry and then get some more masking on there and see what happens next. Right, let's try this. I've got more red than I think I did pink, although I can't really tell because I did some other bits and some I painted over, so yeah, it's difficult to tell, but there's definitely bits of red that will be left. Now the one thing that I'm not sure about is how well the orange is going to go over the top of the red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this one just as is. That one I'm going to go back over with the white primer to give me a decent base for the orange, because I think that will give me a better orange pop. And it doesn't matter, because anything I spray over is going to be orange anyway, I think. So basically all of this needs to be orange, except for the bits that have already been masked off. At least that's my my theory, my way of thinking at it, is that that's how it's going to end up. So I'm just absolutely covering it. Yeah, you can see the red underneath the orange. So unless I was to give it another coat, that's really not going to work properly. So unless I reverse things and do the red as the final coat, I think I'm going to have to do this differently. So I'm going to leave that and see how it looks. Maybe give that another coat. But I'm going to give that a black with the airbrush to go over in the white primer again. And then the orange over the top when it's dried. So we'll see. And all we can do is experiment and learn these things. So see you in a minute when that's got another coat and that's been primed and painted. So this is the piece that was brush painted. Orange obviously over the top of what you saw previously on the red. Two fairly thick coats and you can still see the red through it. So repriming again is definitely going to be the way to go, but let's see. I'm nervous. We'll see just how it looks. Now I have noticed, although I didn't hairdryer or anything doing anything with this, a couple of bits have started to lift off where they were over the rivets, so it seems to, you've really got to make sure it's stuck down, although I thought I did, but it seems to have lifted in a couple of spots anyway. So I'm expecting paint underneath, but we'll see how it goes. I don't remember which one of these was done with let's say pink or red underneath, although that looks white to me. No, that's definitely pink, because that's white and that's pink. So yeah, there is some difference. In theory, these shapes might be possible to be reused, but where most of these were just sort of cut by hand rather than properly, shaped, I'm not really going to be able to reuse any of these. So yeah, I'm just going to get rid of these and see how it goes. I'm not expecting great things from any of this really, but especially from, let's say, corners and edges, because I don't think it's stuck down as well as it should. Yeah, especially lot and things like that. That's really rubbish. But it's all a learning experience, and that's why I wanted to do a test piece anyway. So I'm not going to bore you by picking off each individual bit live here. I'll get them all off, and then we'll see how it looks afterwards. So I'll see you in a moment. Right, as a proof of concept, it works, sort of. You can tell, or I can tell certainly from here, that the orange paint is very, very thick. Obviously, to try and cover up the red, I went far too thick, and you can actually see steps in it if you look closely enough. Probably feel them as well. And it did go under some of the masking where I expected it to as well, but it sort of works. Some shapes obviously are better than others, and I'm not sure the overall sort of, if you like, design of the camo needs work. I need to research more and browse and come up with lots more images to try and get it to work better as a camo. I think I need more of the colours. So there's too much orange, not enough of the other digital camo, and I think I need more clumping to sort of, I don't know, maybe to have an entire patch with irregular edges and then sort of blend out into the other one, maybe. But yes, it certainly seems to work, but needs more skill, basically, more attention to detail and better shapes. Right, the other test piece is still drying. I've managed to airbrush that one in the orange, although I went over it in primer first as well to try and get rid of this modelling. So once that's dry, I shall film that unmasking and show you what that looks like. Okay, I got impatient and took the masking off before doing it on camera, but that's the result. Now, all in all, it's better than the brush painting version. The colour's much richer and everything else. The edges are nicer. All in all, it needs more everything. Obviously, when I've masked, it hasn't taken down as well as it should at some of the edges. A lot of that was just me not making sure it's down properly. And obviously 2 loads of paint, the primer and the orange over the top. But that's definitely the way to go. I need to do more. This was only a test, but it just doesn't look right. It needs more coverage of the other colours and not so much of the orange. So yeah, back to the drawing board with some research and things, but I'll progress onwards and we'll see. It's a learning experience, so definitely airbrushing is the way to go. But I need to work more on the design of the camouflage pattern. So stick with me, I'll be there soon. With the whole thing done in primer, obviously there's no camo yet. I know you can see that there's no camo because you can see it. A few things have come to light. There's a few, not problems, but adjustments that need to be made before I can actually start on the proper painting. The main one is some seam lines. I can see it comes out much more pronounced in primer than I hoped it was going to. There's seam lines down the front of the main gun. There's a couple of join lines. These are still not attached. Visible on turrets, things like that. Obviously it's still not glued together yet anyway. I'm not sure if these gun things should be drilled out or not. I'm going to leave them because I'm not entirely certain. The other barrel, again, some seam lines and things like that. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of tidy up before progressing further into the actual painting. Obviously you've seen the test pieces, so you know the sort of thing I'm aiming for. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of tidy up. The seam under the bottom is not too much to worry about, but the one on the top is a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is just tidy it up again. A little bit of sanding and then repriming. I don't think it's bad enough that certainly doesn't need filling. The main machine gun there I am going to drill out. So I shall get my Citadel drilly pin vise good to go on that, and we'll see how that looks when I get to that. But basically a little bit of tidy up, and then I'm actually going to call this video done once I've reprimed, as I say, the bits that I'm touching up now, and then I can come back fresh with a blank slate, a white blank slate, ready and good to go with the actual dangerous painting of the camo things. So most of this is fine, but there's a couple of bits that just need a little bit of attention. So there's a join along there that is actually a join, so I'm going to put a bit of sprue glue on there, a couple of other places, get it looking as nice as I possibly can, and then start afresh with a new video. So I'm going to get all this sanded out. You don't need to watch me sand and fiddle and prime and stuff, but once I've got it back to nice looking again, I'll show you it finished and then finish the video. So I'll see you soon. I'll do some of the drilling now. Right, drilling out the barrel. This is the Citadel pin vise, which you can get cheaper pin vices, but this one's got a nice big bit that you can put into your hand and rotate without it digging into your hand and being uncomfortable. It comes with several drill bits, which apparently are all designed to be exactly the right sizes for different things. It locks in place in the end there, so that doesn't move, and then you can just turn, and that obviously rotates and drills through. So let's see how it works in anger. Obviously normally I'd use a Dremel for this, but I got told off, so I'm going to do it properly. We'll get this obviously in the same direction as the gun itself, locate that into the middle where it needs to be, give it a couple of little turns. You can see hopefully it's starting to cut through the painting there, and you can see that is actually pretty much central. So I can lock that back where it needs to be and worry less about where it is and more about the direction it's going into now. So I'll just keep rotating that. Obviously I'm not going to go all the way down the barrel because that would just be silly. This is mainly going forwards, then just going backwards a little bit just to break off the extra bits. So I'm just going to go in deep enough so it looks like a hole without actually being, you know, too far down. So that'll do it. That's just gone in a few mil, so it gives you that hole there. I could go bigger, but I'm going to leave it like that. So that's drilling out a hole. Obviously no trouble at all with that. Sprue glue, I shall show you that while I'm here. You know what sprue glue is? It's just plastic polystyrene, normal sprues sunk into some Tamiya extra thin, and it gives you this gloopy white, because I use white sprues, blobby liquid that you can just coat over where you want it to fill. Hopefully not getting too much in. Spread it around a bit, and then you can leave that to dry. It takes about a day for it to dry, and it will just fill in the gap where there was a little seam. You can sand off the excess that's still going to be there, and that will give you a matching line, so you won't actually be able to see that there was a seam there at all, ever. So I'm going to go around and get a few of those. As I say, this sort of thing, just going to sand that down a little bit first, just to see. Yeah, that's leaving a little hole there. The edges as well could be a little bit better, so let's leave them like that, and then I'll just touch up with a little bit just to fill in the edges. So when I come back down, when this is dry in a day or so, I'll be able to sand it back to a nice corner, nice point, nice flat, and then repaint. So I'll get that done on all of it. When it's dry, I'll get it all repainted, and then just about now you'll be able to see it finished. Well, there we have it all tidied up. Seam lines pretty much gone, a little bit on the bottom there, but it's underneath. I'm not that worried about that one. Main secondary sort of turret done, holes drilled out, so it's all good to go. So I'm going to reassemble it, just for the sake of reassembling it. Obviously that locks on the top there, the little turret over the bottom there like that, and the four obviously sit on that side. So I'm going to call that a day with this one. I'm going to call this the prepping for painting video, and I shall return shortly with the full actual paint job. Yeah, now it's ready, and as good as I can get it within reason. It's ready to be properly painted, so I'll be starting the digital camo in the next video. So yeah, come back soon for that, and I'll see you in a little while. So thank you, I hope you're enjoying the build, and I'll see you soon. Bye.